Hi, and welcome back to Programming for Absolute Beginners and the Computer Illiterate. Today I'm going to talk about functions, which is something I've been putting off for a little while. So the idea of a function is that you put something into it and you get something else out of it. And this is useful for things like code reuse. There's a concept called dry, don't repeat yourself. The idea is to not repeat yourself and to write as little code as possible and reuse as much of it as often as possible. So, as an example of a function is this prompt function that we've been using. You put in a text string and you get out a text string again that the user inputs. Another function would be document.write. It does something. You write out a text string and it outputs it to the screen. Same with number. It's kind of a function. You input a string or whatever and it outputs a number. When you're talking about an object like document, if you have a function after the period like this one, it's often called a method, but a method is just a function that acts on whatever object it's on here. Here's a couple more examples. Math.floor is a function. You input a number, you get another number. But you can also make your own functions in order to reuse some code. So for example, we have this little bit of code that we reuse quite often. We ask the user for a string and we want to change it into a number. So we can try writing a function for that. I'll start up at the top, put all that at the bottom. And you do this quite simply by doing function name, parameters, curly bracket, end curly bracket, and anything that happens here, stuff happens. You can call this function by doing function name, some parameter, and it'll do whatever you write inside the function. So this is just a a basic example of the syntax for it, but this doesn't really do anything. So let's try defining a function prompt for number with a string. We'll call this string, let's say prompt string. Okay. And then inside here, we'll do the same thing we did down here. We'll do prompt, and then we'll do prompt string and assign that to a variable for input equals prompt string. Then we can do our input as number equals number input, and then we can return input as number. So what this does is anything after the return gets returned from the function when you call it, and anything and then it will immediately exit the function. So anything that happens down here, like I don't know, document.write, something that never occurs, all of this will never happen because it comes after the return. And in order for a function to return a value, it has to have this return statement. If you don't have it, the function will exit itself, but it won't return anything. So we'll have to do put as number. Then later on we can call the function like var number. We'll just call this in. Var number equals prompt for number. Enter a number. So what this will do is it will call this function and call the prompt function that we were using before and automatically return the number because we called it as a number here. So we can go back and use this in our game. We can remove all of this here and we can do, let's do new input, change, let's just change this to prompt for number, and then we can get rid of this altogether. So this is just a small example of a little short function. We can expand on it later, but just to show you how this works. And I will do, okay, let's comment this guy out. Let's see. Now let's not worry about any of this. So instead of making a random number, we're gonna var input equals prompt for number, enter starting number, and input will automatically be a number because we're getting the input through our prompt for number function. So we'll save that and let's see what happens here. Starting number 1, okay. Guess a number 3, nope. How about 1? Oh, we won again because last time, if you remember, we wrote this little guessing game. This little guessing game program. So that shows you how to define a function and then call the function, which is where we're calling the function right here. And inside the function, we could do a lot of other things. You know, we can check for, let's see, I think it's if number, let's see, if is nan is a function, input as number. We can instead return the number 0. This is for input sanitation, I guess you could say. So this way, if input as a number is nan, is not a number, it will return 0 instead of nan. So let's take this out real quick. I'll show you. And save that and we'll redo this. Remember from a past video, if you enter a bunch of junk here, it'll turn into nan. And there are problems with nan because for whatever reason, nan does not equal nan, and it freaks out here. So we'll put that back in and save it. And so remember, if the input is nan, if it is not a number, which is this guy, it's a special number that's not really a number, then it can return 0 instead of returning nan, so that we've always got it returning a number, right? So we'll save that. I'll show you this example. Bunch of garbage, it returns 0 here. And let's see, why did you automatically win if you've got a return as a 0? Let's see, prompted for the starting number and the new, okay, so new input starts out as 0. So it starts out, we got a 0 from this prompt, and then the new input, which hasn't been asked for yet, starts off at 0. So we could start this at something like 99 just for the heck of it, and save and refresh. Now if we enter junk, return number 0 and 5. Let's see, 5. So that's not correct, but if we return a 0, we won because it returned an actual number, not a nan. So if we were going to do all of this code without a function, it would have to look something like, we're going to do this over and over. We have this whole little bit of code over and over here. So we'd have all of this, you know, right here. And then we'd have it again, all of it down here, because it's the same thing. We're just using it over and over. But instead of doing that, we can just use our function that we created right here and not have to write all of that code over and over and over again. So let's put this back. Put this, enter a starting number. Starting number. And let's see if that goes back. Fresh. Okay. Okay, that works. Guess a number. We can guess 0. So we can use, this to do other things. We can put a whole while loop, for example, in here. So instead of just returning 0, we can do something interesting like while. Let's see. We'll do, while is nan. So while input as a number is not really a number. As long as this is true, we will, got a little typo there, get rid of that. Put that there. And then we'll keep doing this over and over and over again. And put, equals prompt string. And we could do input as number equals number input. And it'll keep doing this over and over and over again until input is actually a number. Let's see if this guy works. Fresh. Enter number. Oh, no. Okay, we still got to enter a number. None of this stuff is numbers. Oh, come on. But we could finally put 4. 4 is a number, so now it's asking us to guess. So we could do all kinds of stuff here. Put a while loop. And as an example, though, see, we're repeating code again. And that's usually bad. So let's make us another function. Let's see, function. What do we call this? Keep asking until number. Okay. And put that a prompt string. And we'll put this here. Now we'll put, let's see, we'll put our loop down here. Okay. And so, don't know what happened there, but that's okay. So while, let's see, var input equals prompt for number prompt string. And we can do while is nan input. And we can keep doing input equals prompt for number. So we're still reusing code a little bit, but return input. So this will get us the same thing as having that up there, but we're only doing this input as number part one time. We're only writing that one time. So this, it looks like a lot more code, and it is a lot more code, but sometimes it can be useful to have a function calling another function inside of a function. So then we can go here and do input, oops, let's see, input prompt for number. Keep asking until number. So we're going to keep asking this guy until it's a number. It's going to keep doing this because here we're calling this function, which is keep asking until number, and we're going to pass this prompt string to this function up here, which is going to convert the input into a number, or if it's not a number, it'll just return not a number. And then it'll use this in a while loop. It'll check if the prompt was a number, and it'll keep, got our loop here, and it'll keep asking that. So this isn't gonna be great, but we can finally give it a number. And then now we've moved on to our second input, which is down here, prompt for number. And we're gonna give it some garbage. And see, it returns a nan. It doesn't keep doing the loop until it gets an actual number. So maybe you wanted something different here. Let's see. No, garbage. And finally, we'll try for. Okay. So that's how you can create your own functions, and it's really useful for reusing code in case you're going to do a lot of complex code in your function. So we'll keep on. And then another great thing about a function is that since you're not copy and pasting code everywhere, you can change up your functions in the function definition so that you can not have to change that code everywhere. So if, I don't know, we wanted to make it for only for integers, we could do var integer, and we can make that input as number, but this is going to be math.floor, which is that function we used earlier, so that it will get the floor of the input as a number and return that. So this is going to be integer. We'll copy this. We'll put here integer. Oops. Save that and do a refresh. And our number, say we put something like 1554.7. Bunch of decimal points. Okay. So then we've got 154 because we stripped off the decimal part. And so we can even do it down here. So 9. Okay, so that's not 154. And if we put 154.99999, it will strip that off before it gets to the while loop. So straight out of this function, it'll already be turned into an integer. And you can do a lot with functions. Make your custom functions as long or as short as you want. You want to do all kinds of things. Yeah, let's try something else real quick. Let's say we wanted to have multiple parameters. So we'll do function ask for full name, and we'll have part 1 string and part 2 string, and we'll do something like this. We'll do ask, let's see, var first name equals prompt part 1 string. Then we can do var last name equals prompt part 2 string. So here we've got 2 parameters instead of just the one. And in this function, we're going to do two prompts to ask for 2 different strings, And then we're going to do return first name plus, put a space there, plus last name. So what this will do is it'll ask for 2 prompts, and then it'll ask 2 prompts here and return a full name of first space last name. And so why might we want to do this? We could do, let's see, var your name equals ask for full name. What is your first name, comma, what is your last name? Let's see. Okay, that'll get your name. But what if you also wanted to say, what is your brother's name? What is your brother's, oops, let's see, brother's first name? What is your brother's last name? And we can do it again. And we can do your sister's name. Ask for full name. Ask for, sister's first name. What is your sister's last name? There we go there. And then we can do, let's get rid of this guy here. Then after all that, we can do document.write your family and put a new line here. And then we can document.write your name plus a new line here. Oops. New line. And we can do document.write your brother's name. Slash in document.write your sister's name plus slash in. So, we're asking for 3 names. So we're going to call this function ask for full name 3 times. And instead of having to write 2 prompts with different, text each time, we can call it 3 times and it'll automatically do everything we need. So file save that. What is your first name? Ben. What is your last name? David is my brother. My sister is Melissa. And see, there we go. This is my whole family. So something I did notice is that, we've got a lot of text here. So let's update this string a little bit. So, we could say, ask for full name who, that way we don't have to have all of this stuff. We can do, let's see, prompt, put the string, what is plus who plus name, first name. And part 2 is going to be the same thing. We're going to ask for last name. So we didn't really need 2 parameters there. But it kind of made things a little bit easier. Let's take this guy out and I'll show you how we can do that. What is your name? All right. And then we can change this to what is your brother's name, and change this to sister's name. And see how we just changed this part one time, and then we can shorten up our code down here a lot, so we didn't have to repeat, what is first name, what is last name. So that's the whole point. Save that, and it'll do basically exactly the same thing. So what is your name? Is Ben. What is your last name? And then brother is David. His last name is S. And my sister's M. And it's the exact same thing. Just we updated the function so that we can write less code. So that later on we can do var your mom equal ask for full name, mom's name, var your dog equals ask for full name, dogs. See, and we can use this over and over and over and over again. And that's the whole point of a function. Let's see. Get there. Then S. Brother is David. S. Sister's name was mom's name, Mona. Dog's name. I don't actually have a dog, so we'll just say Spot. His last name is S. And we forgot to output the name right there, but I think you can get the point there. So you can do a lot of things here, and build on the functions. But that's the basics. You just want to create your functions so that you can reuse your code a lot. So hopefully you learned something there about functions, and next time we might go a little bit deeper into functions. We'll see what else there are. We can talk about arrays maybe, or objects. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.